Hi, my name's Yaz. I'll be giving a review of Painbusters and obviously the person behind Painbusters, who is Maury. And I'll just start off by saying that he's a really lovely person. I always felt really comfortable with him during our sessions. You can tell that he really does care about the work that he's doing, and I think that's a really important thing to remember, which is, it's important to remember because there are lots of physical therapists, there are lots of doctors, there are a lot of healthcare professionals who just seem apathetic, who seem kind of not passionate about the things that they do. But Maury's somebody who, from my discussions, I've realized is, really, really into his work. And if you follow him on Instagram, you can see that, he spent the majority of his education and life learning about pain and learning in order to help other people. And yeah, that's one thing for sure. So I'm just going to go through my experience having back pain, what Painbusters has done for me, what kind of treatments I've resorted to, what healthcare professionals I've gone to, etc. So to start it off, I got injured during the summer of my first year at uni, and I am now in my fourth year. And it has only been after our sessions that I've managed to, get over the pain. And that was like, I'm trying to recall time here, but like maybe 4 months ago, maybe a bit longer. And so, yeah, I spent pretty much 3 years in constant pain. And if you are dealing with chronic pain, you know like how much that impacts you mentally and obviously physically. But yeah, it was depressing to say the least. There were some really dark times where I genuinely couldn't fathom living with this pain. Like, I could not see a life where I could coexist with the pain, if you will. And, that really did impact me. I quit my favorite sport, which was powerlifting. I couldn't go to the gym. I couldn't go out for a walk. I couldn't do, like, pretty much anything that a normal human being does. So my symptoms mainly were pain when walking, pain when standing up, pain when cleaning, pain when just doing daily tasks. And, as you can imagine, that, is a really difficult thing to deal with. Now, in terms of treatments, well, there's been many. I cannot begin to tell you, like, how much time it took for me to get over my pain, and how much money, how much, like, effort, how much, like, emotional effort, physical effort it was to get rid of the pain. And, it never went anywhere until, obviously, I met Maury. I obviously resorted to physical therapy, which was recommended by the doctor. It was fine. I mean, I noticed some improvements. I especially noticed improvements when I went with somebody who I was paying for rather than somebody that the government provided. And, it helped momentarily, is what I would say. Like, it worked for a couple of weeks, couple of months, but then ultimately I'd end up back in the same position that I was. And I just couldn't understand why. I couldn't understand why physical therapy was not working. Why, I was strengthening my abs, my core. I was strengthening my glutes. I was strengthening my sides. I was doing all sorts of things, and it just didn't work, And that's, what they prescribe to most people with back pain. And yeah, it worked. Look, I won't say that physical therapy doesn't work at all. That's not true. I have found that walking, especially, like, just doing it through, like, progressively, so starting from, like, maybe 5-minute walk to 10-minute walk to a 20-minute walk to a 30-minute walk, etc., it did help reduce the pain. And so has physical therapy. It did help with the pain, but it did not solve it completely because, it reduced it. And then flare-ups would happen again. Like, there were times where, I didn't have pain for a week, but then the next week I was in constant pain again, and it was really severe than the other week. But yeah, physical therapy does work, but it did not work completely for me. And that's where Maury steps in. So Maury very kindly offered on Reddit to a random stranger who happened to be me, his services. And at first, obviously, I was skeptical because I was like, this is a random person from the internet, like, what? It could go wrong, you know? But I'm happy to say that I was completely wrong. And, you know, I was skeptical even during our sessions, and I stayed skeptical for a really long time afterwards because I just couldn't believe what he was saying, in a sense. But through my experiences, through adopting what he's, you know, told me, I have managed to get over my chronic pain. Something that seemed impossible was suddenly possible. And I didn't realize the value of that until we had finished our sessions, until we hadn't, you know, it's been ages now since I've spoken to Maury, and I now truly understand the value of what he said and the value of the sessions that I've had with him. I can't remember exactly how many sessions it was, but it was a fairly decent amount. I think it was like once a week or once every 2 weeks, and lasted for maybe, I can't remember, like maybe 2 months, I mean, or a month. I can't remember exactly. The sessions were really lovely because I don't get a chance to talk about my pain. Well, I didn't get to, obviously, because I don't experience pain anymore. The information that he provided was understandable. Like, I didn't feel like I had to, you know, engage with someone who's speaking in jargon or trying to make things more complicated than they are. He provided that information in a really digestible way. He gave me hope. He made me feel like I could do it, even though I believed, especially at the start, that I wouldn't be able to do it. So yeah, in terms of like the person that Maury is, I think he is a really knowledgeable, passionate, like compassionate human being. So I got really amazing results from this, which I didn't expect. As I said, I was really skeptical, but obviously things were gradual. So it's not like, aha, we've had a session and we've done all the sessions that we need to, and now the pain is completely gone. Like, it's not magic, you know, it's not something that's gonna cure you immediately. It's the kind of thing that takes a lot of willingness from the participant or, you know, the patient. And I put a lot of work in, and I listened to what he said. I read up more on what he said. I had an eagerness to learn and an eagerness to get rid of the pain. And I think that's something that you should be aware of as well, is, yeah, it takes two to get rid of the pain, you know? It's not just a magical potion that you can take and you get rid of it, you know? So, yeah, it was gradual. So, you know, the pain dissipated a bit, and, you know, eventually I just didn't experience it anymore. The pain could return, and I do have flare-ups sometimes, but they're much more less frequent, you know, they're less frequent, less intense, and I feel able to deal with that, if that makes sense. And I think that's the most important thing that Maury has taught me from his sessions, is that is given me the tools to be able to do it myself, you know. Now when I have chronic pain, I don't panic, I don't get scared, I know exactly what to do. And yeah, I think what he's taught me has been immensely valuable to me. I went from being in pain 24/7, feeling hopeless, feeling depressed, to suddenly like regaining control over my life, being able to deal with the chronic pain when it comes up, like not having to think about it anymore because I don't experience it. And so yeah, I definitely would recommend Painbusters, or at least just giving it a chance. And, you know, engage with it skeptically as I did, and hopefully you'll be proven wrong.